Farms are extremely diverse places.
The above-ground landscape is revealing what the below-ground community is performing.
If you are seeing earthworms in your soil, I believe your soil is alive. It's not sterile.
You want to make sure that you're seeing kind of all of the tiers of wildlife that should exist in that space.
I know when I first started looking into doing soil health, I asked my dad, he'd farmed for 40-something years. I said, have you ever seen earthworms out in your field? And he said, I don't think I've ever seen them. Well, about the third year into doing no-till, I was digging, checking seed depth, saw an earthworm. He actually stopped the planter, called my dad and said, man, I found an earthworm, you believe this? And he came and looked and he's like, I bet that's a one-off kind of a deal. And then we'd see them every now and then. Now, after doing this for 5 years, every time I would go check a seed, I would find an earthworm before I'd find the seed.
So, yeah, diversity in your pastures is hugely beneficial, and I would say should be desired for any rancher. If you have diversity, it means each of those grasses can perform best in all sorts of different conditions.
The physical nature of what's happening underground when you have a diversity of species above ground is that they all have a different root structure, different depths, different widths. And so if you have a diversity of plants, you're really reaching each different level and area of the soil.
Wet year, dry year, it's a super hot year, it's a cool year. If you have diversity, you're gonna have different grasses in those different conditions continue to do a beneficial job in helping the soil, holding it in place, pumping exudates down in the soil, feeding different soil microbiota. If you have that diversity, you then have diversity in the soil as well, and you can survive through many different conditions.
Over time, as you increase biodiversity in ecosystems, you have higher productivity, and you also have higher predictability in that productivity. As you increase diversity, you actually decrease the likelihood of a reinvasion, or we call it increasing invasion resistance. By diversifying your landscape, you can also decrease the likelihood that an unwanted species gets established.
Next year, I'm going to incorporate a 3-crop rotation, doing a corn, wheat, summer cover after it, and then back to cotton. I find that whenever I do a crop rotation, the cotton crop after the corn is always incredible.
We also try and plant just more kind of native and landscape crops around. Maybe not vegetables, but perennials and other things like that to attract some of the things that we want.
Concentrating on plant diversity means that we are concentrating on slowly through time starting to rebuild that soil structure between the relationships of the plants, the fungi and bacteria, and then all the invertebrates that are cycling those nutrients.
They say that a really, really healthy, kind of perfect, ideal soil should look like chocolate cake. And you want to see activity, hopefully, in that soil. It should be full of creatures and bugs and hopefully things you can't see.
As the microbial community below the soil surface is healthy and performing all of its functions that was ecologically designed to do, then you have lots of diversity above ground. You have diversity in plants, you have diversity in all of your wildlife, your insects, your birds, and so that mirrors, the above ground mirrors what's going on below the ground.